So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today's Monday, May the 2nd, 2022. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. We'll give Michael a moment to dial in. I'll direct you to our website, which is whyagain, WHYAGAIN.org. And, look around. We now have several new things. And so just, click around, test them out. The Apple hopefully will be approved before the day's out for the app on the iOS. It's already been approved on the Android out of the Google Play Store. So go to either of your stores and get the update on that. And welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Honored and delighted that you're here as we move forward in this awesome conversation about first century Aramaic forgiveness. And if anyone has a topic you'd like to push the show in the direction of, a question or a thought, push 1 and raise a hand. Otherwise, I'm going to rock on and talk a little bit about laws of living. But I thought I'd just open the space for somebody who's out there that's got a burning question or comment or something to share. And before I launched into laws of living. So, Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody there with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all quiet. So go for it.
Aha. Cool. Well, then let's talk about laws of living and possibilities for human beings. It's interesting how all of the key liberating ideas that were offered, or maybe not all, but majority of the key liberating ideas that were offered in the Aramaic language 2,000 years ago and longer, that the key ideas were degraded from what they originally meant and the original possibilities, the original function of the words that were used. When it came into Greek, it's like, let's imagine that you're a university professor and you teach advanced physics. And what you're going to do is you're going to go into a postgraduate course where people have been studying physics for 6 years. They've gotten their doctorates in physics, and now you're going to talk to them about physics. And you send in a child of 5 to do the lecture. Now, you may be able to explain to a child of 5, you may take, we've all seen one of those little machines where there are 6 or 8 balls hanging from a framework, and you pull one and it falls down and it hits the next one, hits the next, hits the next. There's a physics principle there, the transfer of energy. And so let's say you're going to talk to this postgraduate group about the transfer of energy, and there's your model. And you explain to the child of 5 what that transfer of energy means. And now that child of 5 is going to go in and give your lecture. That would be like listening to Yeshua in Greek. On this topic where there's so many key words. Yeshua says the power of life and death is in our words. What does that mean? It means if you're using words that represent frequencies of death, you're going to kill yourself. If you're using words that represent frequencies of life, you're going to move into greater and greater states of aliveness, greater and greater possibilities. And almost every key word has had its meaning changed. So, forgiveness has become pardoning. Love has become sexual athletics, or something I'm going to do to you instead of who I am. Idea after idea after idea has lost its original meaning. So in the Aramaic language, this word law has nothing to do with the Greek idea of I'm the law, and this is the rule of me, the superior, and you better follow my rules. Nothing to do with that type of insanity. You know, kings want us to believe law is the ruler superior. They're the superior. They have the divine right. And boy, you look at some of the history, and it's so bizarre what some of these people did under, and most people just sucked it up. No, these are the kings. You got to go fight and die for the king. He's, you know, yeah. Well, he may be building the equivalent of a $100 billion palace while you're living in a $300 shack, but you know you got to support the king. And the king's law says he needs that money to build that $100 billion palace. And I'm talking literally about back in the times of Louis XIII. We just finished watching an interesting video series on Netflix called Versailles. And I forget what they said the property would be worth today, but, you know, hundreds and hundreds of billions. In any event, you know, people believed that the king was a divine heir and was there to, and the scriptures even said, you know, obey the king. Well, talk about degraded thought. So when you get back to the Aramaic, law is simply a word that represents the explanation of how things work. That's all. The law of gravity simply explains how the gravity force works. It isn't some superior stood up there and said, and from here on in, when you get into a certain, you're going to fall. No, it's nothing to do with that, but rather is simply how things work. And so when you start to approach the whole scriptural dialogue from the point of view of it's an effort on the part of a relatively primitive mind, although a mind perhaps not so stuck in the intellect as we are today, efforting to explain how things work. And the process that they had developed are beyond monumental and beyond genius. I remember doing a Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, and there was a psychologist there, and it had been about maybe the 6th or 7th time that she had done that workshop. And she came up to me after the workshop. She's like, Michael, when psychology develops what was taught in the Aramaic 2,000 years ago, I mean, it's going to revolutionize everything because our field doesn't have a clue. And yet Yeshua lays it all out from start to finish. But sadly, when it's translated into Greek, like for instance, we're told that they asked this man Yeshua, what's most important in the law? And we're given a kindergartner's answer for a postgraduate level question. The question in essence is, how do we function as human beings? And Yeshua does not say what the 5-year-old Greek translation would say. Oh, it's the act of loving God and loving your neighbor, you know, kind of just like you do yourself. Well, that would be a 5-year-old's response. What he said was, and I'll give you the long form. Folks, there's a filter and a gateway in the frontal lobes of your brain. It's called Rakhma. If that gateway is open, then there is an entry point for your human life, which is love, to come into your form and express as the fact of what it is. It's got nothing to do with a verb of loving our neighbors or loving God. It informs us that there is this gateway that, when open, means you have access to the truth of who you are as love. You get to function as a human being, which is love. Now, it's interesting, we live in a world that uses this excuse, oh, well, I'm only human, when people fall into lower behaviors. Oh, I'm only human. Well, no. Actually, if you were functioning as a human being, you'd be at the top form of human life. You wouldn't be using it as an excuse. And there's a second function for this, what he was describing with this word Rakhma, the gateway. It's also a filter. And what it does is it inhibits the flow of intentions keyed to hostility and fear. Negative and destructive intentions are inhibited by the activity of Rakhma. Like, you can't even go there. You go back and, I can remember being a kid and you heard the stories of the saints, some of the things they did. And you go, how is that possible? Well, when you know that there's a thing called Rakhma that ties you in and you're functioning strictly straight out of the state of being love, then that stuff makes sense. We're not locked into an hostility and fear-based mind. We're locked into a love-based state of being. So we have this filter that inhibits intentions that are destructive or negative. And the reason why that's, which means that the only intentions available at that point are those that are based in love. The reason that's important is because what drives human behavior is based in goals. And the raw material for goals are those intentions. So you're saying you protect the quality of your intentions by having Rakhma active. You have a gateway that brings active human life into your form. And then he says what I consider to be the 11 most important words ever spoken. In fact, I've been working on a book that started out with that title. It's now called The End of Suffering. But if anybody's listened to it, we talked about it a few weeks ago, The End of Suffering, and Jeannie put a link in the notes. If you've listened to it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But he gave a formula, not sort of some sort of a magic blessing, not something, I'm going to fix it for you. But he gave us a formula for functioning as human beings, for functioning out of love and having goals that are only linked to that state of being. Now, you listen to Paul sometimes later, and he talks about love. And if you read and you understand the meanings of words, what words are reflecting, you read it, you read that statement that, many people have, they say it's so beautiful that they've made their wedding vows out of it. But if you really stop and listen to the words and you realize that words are reflective of the content of a mind, you'll notice that the most of what he wrote about is what it's not. Oh, it doesn't envy. It doesn't this, it doesn't that, it doesn't that. Almost the whole list is about what it doesn't do. And you can tell that in the file in Paul's mind, there's a whole lot of hostility and fear in the file on love. And you look at a point where the man admits, why is it the things that I would do, the things I know from being that I know are right, why is it that I can't bring them into behavior? Why is it that I do the things I hate? He had no idea how to transition from what Rakhma meant there and how to transition into goals, driving perception, driving behavior. So he doesn't know how to function as a human being. And he's very frustrated. He's stuck. He's like, it's kind of like, well, man, when I'm under stress, here I am doing the exact opposite of what I said I wanted to do. What's wrong with me? Well, nothing's wrong with you. You just haven't done your work. You don't have the tool of forgiveness. You don't understand what forgiveness means. You're telling, there's another degraded word, you're telling people that forgiveness is about letting other people, oh, forgive them, let them off the hook, rather than, oh, they brought up some rage or fear or pain in you, then forgive your rage or fear or pain. Remove that from your structure. You know, the whole conversation has just been so degraded. And yet, it's based in beyond postgraduate work. And when we come out of the Greek, well, if Yeshua sat in most circles where they speak from Greek translations, he'd say, that's all Greek to me. Because it is. It's lost in the language of a child of 5, and we're trying to understand postgraduate physics. And then once you start to string these ideas together from the Aramaic, you get a key into what the real state of being is about and what the real possibilities are. Then what he lays out are tools for accessing that state of being, for living in that state of being. The core tool, the key tool, being the removal of that which is based in hostility or fear, that which does not belong within the structure. So forgiveness, being a word that describes a methodology by which you remove. You know, Paul says, why is it the things I would not do are what I do? He's got realities. He's got content in his mind. He has no idea how to forgive it, no idea how to remove it, so it drives his behavior. He loads the gold, bang, drives his behavior, and he doesn't know how to change that because he didn't understand the technology of forgiveness. That's how quickly it disappeared 2,000 years ago. And I certainly understand why people don't want anything to do with forgiveness, because most people interpret when there's a problem in their lives, blame, and their blame is usually about somebody else. But if I'm not blaming somebody else, then the blame comes back on me. And most people are like, no. I don't want to look at myself being responsible for that. So what we're working to do with these tools is to make them as clearly understood in this language where the ideas, and sadly, if we were just starting from scratch, it would be so much easier. We still have all of these errant ideas about so many of the key things. Errant ideas about law, errant ideas about love, errant ideas about forgiveness. So our goal is to bring the tools into the English language as clearly as we can and undo the errant definitions and restore. Bring us back to the state of being. And then if you move through life and you load a goal that brings up something based in hostility or fear, okay, so how do you do this forgiveness thing? How is it done? And then to move forward and actually step into and do it. There are a couple of new pieces of information on the website, actually with the Hear My Voice book study club. We have done 2 sessions with their participants where we did a worksheet live. And those 2 sessions are available in the special radio shows section. I believe, is that correct, Jeannie, that that's where they're located?
They are, if you go to the website and click on either schedule, and it'll take you down to the Global Online Book Club, or you can scroll down to events. It's in both places. And then when you click on that, then it gives the archive shows. Is that what you meant?
Oh, cool. Yeah. The archive of the 2 worksheets that we did with the Hear My Voice Book Study Club.
Yes, they're out there.
Oh, cool. Okay. So there are 2 live worksheets that we did there with 2 different people who were totally and completely in the dark about forgiveness. We started right from scratch with them. So they're both good introductions for someone to start to build the brain cells for what forgiveness is about and how it's done. And so those archives are available, and then there are at least, I don't even know now, 20 or so radio shows where either Dr. Tim Hayes or myself or Jeannie has walked somebody through a worksheet. So there are lots of instructions on the how-to of forgiveness. And my offering would be that if you're going to do anything about your healing process, about your spiritual development, whichever direction you want to come from, the most important thing you can do is to acquire the skill of understanding what drives your pained perception and how to collapse that perception. Now, the part of us that's called ego doesn't want anything to do with that, because that perception is like its creation, and you know, it wants to hold its most painful generated states as perfect and wonderful, with blame for everyone and no desire to change. But when you realize that hostility, fear, and pain never belong within a human system, and you acquire the skills and use the tools that bring you back to that state, that original state of being, piece by piece by piece, everything changes. And so our objective is to bring that forward in a way that, yes, even a child of 5 can understand it. And if you download the app, if you go to your app store on your phone and you type in HeartLand, one word, HeartLand, HeartLand Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness, you'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app. If you download it, then you can do the forgiveness process right there on your phone. There are 2 different versions of the worksheet, but there's also a game called the Dragon Klingon game that is a modality for introducing forgiveness to young children. You know, Arya's 3.5, she'll be 4 in August. 4 years she'll have been circling the earth by then. And she's already fairly well acquainted with, when she's in upset, she's got a goal. You know, there's something that you want. You know, notice, sweetie, that you're only upset when you want something that it seems you can't have or you can't get to. And you could go on and be upset and in pain about it, or you could let go of that goal and free yourself from that pain and allow yourself to move into that pain and be with it. And that's where you breathe. And she is just the most amazing little creature, reminding people to breathe. She even tells her dolls to breathe. It's just, the other day when Ginny was teaching her, she was asking to learn more about orthobiotomy, which we've introduced her to. And she was teaching her doll, or her dog, to breathe and how to do, and she's doing still point breathing with the dog. So, you know, a child of 4, 3.5, can take that on and use it in their lives. And it's something I sure wish at 3 or 4 I had been introduced to and brought up with. Would life have been a different proposition? And so, law, whenever you hear that word, translate it a la Aramaic understanding of, oh, this is how something works. You know, you've got rules and regulations in the society, you've got ordinances. No human being has ever passed a law. They talk about lawmakers in Washington. There are no lawmakers in Washington. There is only one lawmaker, and that's the one who set up how it works. And our expression and understanding of how it works, yes, it changes from time to time, but there were some amazing understandings 2,000 years ago that if they were in common knowledge today, we would not be in the mess our world is in, with the conflict and the pain and, literally on the verge of civil war. So time for a wake-up call. And if that resonates anything for you, if it sets up a question, our call-in number, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And if you'd like to have a conversation, all you do is push 1 on your phone. That'll put a hand up in the control panel, and Jeannie will know that you want to talk to us. And so, Miss Jeannie, whose hand is up?
There are none. We have 34 minutes. Press 1. And we have a hand.
Awesome. Let's say hello.
610, I believe it's Susan.
Okay. Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Very good intro, Michael. Hi. First, a report, and then a couple of questions. I didn't do a worksheet yesterday at all. Not one. I needed a day off.
Had you fulfilled your 5 a day till then at least?
I had, and I've done 7 today so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're very fruitful, but yesterday I just went fallow, and I thought, I bet Michael won't mind, especially since you just said that God makes the laws. you can't make a law about that, so anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And it probably sounds like you were following your guidance to just let yourself be in a quiet space yesterday. That's awesome.
It was very
like
quiet.
The field lies fallow.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. So I'm finding that some worksheets just need repeating over and over and over again. Certain basic things, I'm triggered by certain things over and over. And
right.
I'm not sure if, I understand what's happening, but somehow I'm not, I guess I just really, really want to be right in a couple of cases. Or something I find so disturbing, for instance, one of them is when I go on a shop Monday is my shop day at Costco, and I see people pushing, these big orange carts around piled high with single-use bottles of water, and I have to do my breathing, and I have to do my canceling of my goal, and I notice the fear I feel about the planet and how there was a New York Times article. Was it Times? I forget. Anyway, by a man who simply said, yes, we could come out of this, but the cohesiveness is lacking. The global agreement that there is a problem that we could address and fix is a problem, right. And we are so accustomed to our convenience, the convenience of disposables and plastics. He was pessimistic, and he said, I know I'm being pessimistic, but I'm not sure we're going to do this. I'm just not sure. Right. And so I'm dragging around doing worksheets that just go over the same material and have the same giving up of the goal and allowing and letting and setting myself up in a active present love and realizing I don't know anything, but then I have to do it all over again. So comment, please.
Well, did you notice that little piece of denial there as you described it? The scenario?
No.
I'm not sure I've got the words exactly, but how those single-use bottles.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure whether it was the word fear or anger, but make me. Angry.
Oh, yeah.
Anger was the
If I
word.
said
You're
make
angry.
me, I get it. If I said make me, yes. Okay. So.
Well, and it may not even been exactly the words "make me," but the implication was that I have anger about that, and the reminder once again that I have anger because there's anger. And if you go back to Yeshua, they asked him, and I think it'd be similar to your question here. Well, I've done this worksheet 7 times. Isn't that enough?
No.
And he said, no, some of them you'll do 77 times 70.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I accept that.
And
it's going to have to happen.
And as I clean out whatever that's about for me, I'll come to the point, and that doesn't mean that I then go, oh, well, single-use bottles, what the heck, and smile about it. I can still walk over to the person, and I might just be guided. I might really, because my hostility is out of the way around that issue, I might be guided to walk over to somebody, say hello, and gee, you look like you got a store. And, yeah, oh yeah, business is good. That's great. That's a lot of water. Have you ever looked at maybe putting in a really good filter system would give people higher quality water, and and who knows what you might contribute to the whole process and change. Who knows what chain of events you might start with one conversation with somebody at Costco next week. I don't know. But while there's hostility coming up, while there's still hostility playing out from within, it will still create that state, that Paul talked about is, and I think he saw his own life through this. We see as though through a glass darkly. There's a shadow over our guidance. There's a shadow over truth. And the forgiveness is about removing the shadow. And when I think about, I go back in my family system, I mean, my family was a decent family, good people, all good people. But if I think about them, anybody within my family system, aunts, uncles, cousins, I think about them, and it's like there was nobody that had a clue what it meant to function as love. They were loving people, what people call loving, but I don't think there was one of them that ever could have languaged that they were love or that they were designed to function as love. And I look at the family history of hostility, and I look at the family history of alcohol, and it's like, it was pretty bizarre. And so if I'm the recipient of those genes, if I'm the recipient of every adaptation to a fear-based mind, you look at the process they call evolution, and there's an animal and it learns something and it survives better because it learns, and its offspring has that same survival skill. But if our so-called survival skills are actually skills that destroy us, in the end, they might mean short-term survival, but are skills that actually destroy us, then, and I'm the recipient of that, I'm going to have to work through it. And here we are. I mean, that song, how long has this been going on? How long has the crazy destruction been happening, and how widespread is it? And energetically in the culture, how deeply embedded is it? Withdrawing yourself from it. I mean, when you open the pathway, you open a gate for everybody, but it's picking on some deep stuff.
It does, yeah. Well, that's a good answer, and it leads to another question.
Go for it.
Well, just before I start the question, I also had to go to Wegmans the other day, and they have created, this is the enlightened goal functioning as far as the use of plastic bags, but it's the same sort of issue. They have created these enormous, maybe 3 feet in diameter, circular signs that they've posted on their grocery cart stalls outside, the carousels where you shove the cart back after you've used them. And on them, in a very light, friendly way, they say, we're selling, I don't know what they say. It was worded beautifully, though, about how about using these reusable bags We're selling them, and they have stacks of them at the registers, and people can buy a bag and use it forever.
Right.
So they are doing this in the loving way. They're not blaming. They're just saying, guess what we're doing? Why don't you join us? And
cool.
So that, yeah, it's lovely. It was just great to see. And, of course, Costco, you don't use bags at Costco. You pile your stuff into your car. And so they're already good that way. But anyway, I've labored on that one enough.
So you've been having an impact.
I haven't been having an impact, but somebody has.
How do you know? How do you know that it wasn't your conversation with somebody that got back to the owners of Waglands and had them make that shift?
Who knows? But I've been going to the managements of places, and I did go to the management of Costco, and I said, I noticed you're selling apples in these heavy plastic trays of apples. And the guy said, yeah, it keeps the apples nice, and it's very easy to stack them. And I said, I'm just telling you that I am not going to buy apples from you because of that. It's just terribly bad for the planet. And would you consider looking into other ways of selling your apples? And the guy was nice, but he said, oh, well, it's just not cost effective. And that was the end of that. And before that, there had been a letter, and then I went in to speak to him. But I noticed they no longer sell them that way. They now sell them in cardboard trays. So you don't know. That's true. You don't know who's having an impact. Yeah, that's encouraging.
Sounds like a sure thing.
Yeah. So, Michael, question number 2. I've been getting ready to go down to be with my 2 grandsons.
Right.
And the younger one is doing well. The middle one, Jacob, is addicted to weed and alcohol. And I've been listening to Gabor Maté's talks about trauma he's
doing some good stuff.
Oh, man. But what occurred to me, he has this film, you have to pay $15 or something to watch it, well worth watching. But there is an emphasis on trauma that just makes me wonder, doesn't make me, I can't watch my language. Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah, I
inspires
can't talk.
wondering in you?
It's your fault. It leads me to wonder. I mean, no, that's just as bad, I guess. Anyway, I found myself wondering whether you can concentrate on trauma and dark things and pain and stuff too much. Or I think I already know the answer to it, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. There's something that I felt disturbed by. I'm trying to watch my language and not blame him, because he's a very brave man. He lives to help people who are homeless. He is out there in a way, and he's helping other people be out there, going up and respectfully speaking to homeless people and offering all kinds of help. He's really in the trenches. And I found it, I just wanted to get away from that. Now, that's my own denial, I guess. It just seems hard to handle that much concentration on that.
So is there a question behind that?
Sort of. Can you do it too much? Can I do it too much? Can one concentrate on dark stuff too much?
Well, here's my take. I've listened to a few of his things over the years, and I think he's really opening some doors for people and doing some good work. When I look at him physiologically, when I look at his face, he looks, to me, his face looks really sad most of the time.
Sad and tormented.
Like torment. Yeah, actually, that's a better word. Tormented looks like the word to me. So, here would be my take. I would love to, and I've thought about, but I've tried this before, and it just seems that getting through to someone on that level, and then helping to build the brain cells to even recognize the forgiveness conversation, it just seems like almost futile. And so I haven't made contact with him. But if I had contact with him, I'd be saying, are you an unreformed reformer? Are you carrying pain and trauma about the pain and trauma that you're looking at in the world? And if so, please take this tool of forgiveness and let go of your own pain, let go of your own trauma. Oh. And then you become, I think, much more fit to serve those who you're working with, bringing out of their trauma. So to me, the objective is to live as love, to live as a human being and walk every minute, every day in that direction, and then notice when you are not and do your work around it.
That is so good.
If you walk into let's say you went into a homeless camp, unresolved trauma, and you were there to serve, and you served, and you fed people, and you maybe helped to clothe people, and you gave money, there'd be a really positive impact. But if you walked into that space with unresolved trauma about homelessness, you would be what Yeshua taught about 2,000 years ago, a house divided against itself. Because on one level, you're really out there and doing something positive and beneficial for people who just don't have any way out that they know of. So you're doing something really positive, beneficial, but if you're doing it out of your own pain, then at the same time, you're just by your presence, in the same way, that line in the worksheet that says, when I choose love, it wakes up the love in everyone. Yeah. When I choose fear, it wakes up the fear in everyone. When I choose hate, it wakes up the hate in everyone. If I choose rage, it wakes up the rage in everyone. So if somebody walks in and has not resolved their own pain and trauma around this homeless issue, then on one level they're producing this wonderful result, but on another level they're inspiring a deleterious result.
Michael,
so to me, Go ahead.
You said you have thought of contacting him, but it felt futile. Why?
Because what I've found is that people who are working on, he's a brilliant man, and I admire him deeply. Yeah. And to start a conversation with someone in that mode who already has a mechanism for handling trauma that he feels is effective, my experience has been that to bring someone who's in that posture forward into this understanding of forgiveness is just such a long, hard road that it's, as I said, futile. Now, I have been, with Elon Musk being in the mix recently with buying Twitter and all, we've actually been watching, I've listened to a few interviews of Elon Musk, and I'm seriously considering contacting him because one of the things most of the interviews, I know there's some negative publicity about him, he's done some crazy things, but I don't know anybody who hasn't, including myself. But most of his conversation begins and ends with, and I want to help the world. I want to help the world. I watched an interview with him in his childhood, and, he said, I just had these stream of ideas continuously, and I was really weird. I was a nerd because nobody else thought that way. I got bullied. I got beat up, and all I want to do was help people. That seems to be a really powerful phrase for him, and help the world. And at the same time, his conversation moves in one of the things that I heard him say, and Jeannie and I actually watched a video on him last night. I asked Jeannie, do you mind if we watch this? Because I want to learn more about this guy. But he had spoken about how the problem with the world is people just don't change their minds.
Wow.
And I think
is a problem.
I think that is a problem. And the difference between approaching him and Gabor Maté is Gabor Maté, to me, already has the solution, and I think it would take eons to get him to understand forgiveness the way we're understanding it from Yeshua. But I'm thinking that Elon Musk, and if I contacted him, I contacted him, and I'm seriously considering doing this with a conversation about, I heard an interview where you said people just don't change their minds. And I know your whole shtick is technology. Did you know that there's an ancient technology for how to do that? And it works? And I think he'd get it. I think he'd get it.
Oh, wow.
And if he got it, he'd bring it into the world in a way that, we've just been playing at.
Boy, oh
so that
boy.
would be the difference
You've
for me, why I probably wouldn't go and talk to Gabor Maté, but I think I could have a sensible conversation. He's got the brain cells for technology and the desire to help and the belief that people can't change their minds, because by and large that's true. Most people are running on a track and that track doesn't change. The inertia-bound ego is running its game. But I think he'd hear the technology aspect of how the mind works and how forgiveness works, and that people can be taught to change their minds.
Michael, I hereby commission you to make that call, and I have no authority whatsoever. But this sounds like such a great idea, a great and needed idea, and a possible opening that could really cause a massive shift.
Well, in a heartbeat, of course, he could say, Gabor's manuscript translated. How many translators do you need? Okay, get them, go. He could do that sort of thing. And I'm just listening carefully to his conversations to see if, the opening would be there, that his brain cells would be ready for it. And I'm thinking, especially after watching last night's movie. Yeah, I think so too.
Oh my God, it's very exciting. Whoa. Well, and that's such an exciting thought. Okay, well, and that's an exciting thought. Let's not.
Yeah.
What? Good.
In this video we watched last night, they were taught. It was some stuff about his personal life too, and apparently he's been through quite a bit of trauma and pain as a kid, and relationship with his dad. Mm-hmm. He'd understand the power-person dynamic in a heartbeat. He's had some sour relationships with women, and so I think there'd be an opening for healing through relationships, the commitment, the forgiveness. It just seems that there perhaps is a right field there, and.
Wonder what the best way to contact. Wonder what the best way to contact him would be, because he's probably inundated with people wanting to talk to him.
It would be. Yep.
So maybe you could get a hot air balloon and float down over his roof or something. I mean, just get some attention somehow. Wow, it's a great idea.
Well, I've been thinking about that and formulating it, and so far my thinking would be to bounce off of that line where he said people don't change their minds, and offer him that there is an ancient Aramaic technology that teaches people exactly how to do that, and is there an interest? And then I'd lead with the power person dynamic, because that's, I think, would be with his relationship with his dad, would be an opening that he'd understand that power person stuff. So anyway, hold the space for that if you would. If anybody else is listening and it makes sense, hold the space for that. Or maybe somebody's on here that, they're buds. Maybe they know him. Would love to have a conversation.
I just sent you an email. I did a Google search of contact Elon Musk, and it gives an address to write to him, and it says you can also reach out to him on his Twitter account. And so I sent that to you.
Cool.
Woo! Okay.
All right. And if you want to watch the videos, the documentary on him, it's if you've got Amazon Prime, it's on Amazon. We watched it last night.
Oh, wow. What's the name of it? Of course, you don't probably have to know the name because it's just on him.
Yeah, if you just go to Amazon Prime and put in Elon Musk, it's the first one that comes up. It's just Elon Musk documentary.
Okay.
And it goes into his professional life and, his childhood a little bit and his relationships and it's interesting guy. The one, and I can't even tell you, it was one I accidentally came across when he started, this whole conversation started about Twitter. It kind of caught my attention, and I just did a couple of searches, and I found one that he's talking about the way that as a kid, he just was like, I couldn't stop it. It was like there was a river flowing in my mind. It was just idea after idea after idea. It's just, I was odd. I was weird. I thought there was something wrong with me because nobody else did that. Nobody else had that happening. So it was an interesting starting point for a kid. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Human life expressing.
Wow.
Wasn't it Elon Musk, the real life Iron Man?
That's it, the real life Iron Man. That was it, sweetie. Yes.
Wow.
And to tie it back in again to this whole conversation, here's Yeshua saying, "A house divided against itself can't stand."
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, if I walk into a situation with a solution to a problem, but I haven't applied that solution in my own mind, then on one level, where I'm a creator through the unconscious, I'm supporting what it is that I'm trying to fix. And that's the dilemma that Yeshua was talking about, of a house divided against itself. And so, the whole old idea, you go back to the scriptures, says, healer, heal thyself, physician, heal thyself. And if you haven't healed yourself, then you're creating the disease that you're trying to resolve. And, it's a tough way to go with that kind of a division of creative power.
Thanks for unmuting me, Jeannie. I have these new hearing aids, and if I touch my ear, it hangs up. So I have to learn to not touch my ear while I'm on the phone. Anyway, I missed a little bit, but I think I got your gist, Michael, which leads me to another question, and I know we're running out of time. Does anybody else
Go for it. We've still got 10 minutes.
There's nobody else with a hand up.
Okay. Well, this trip to my grandson, one thing that Gabor Maté said that has been hugely helpful is that since trauma is the cause of addiction, at least as far as he can see, he says it makes no sense to tell a person to stop drinking, smoking, / whatever they're doing.
That's right.
He said, and then I watched how he interacts with people, and it's always to go with a tender-hearted regard for the person back to the time when the damage started being done, if you could get there, and then being with them, and the addiction will or will not take care of itself. He doesn't say it's guaranteed, but he just doesn't focus on, he just makes the space. And I'm so excited about having that as a way of being with Jacob, because he has many times, he said, I want to stop. I really want to stop, but then I just can't stop. And I'm thinking he has reasons for not stopping. And I'm hoping that we'll do worksheets together down there. We're going to go for long walks because he has a dog that pulls so hard that I'm not allowed to walk the dog. So he has to walk with me if I'm walking the dog and do the dog. So, and when we're walking, he loosens up and talks. I had this here when he was here. We had great talk as we walked. So I'm just hoping for that, but to not have a fix-it attitude or any kind of blame or any kind of well, why don't you just stop type of thing. It's just off the table. And it's such a relief not to have to fix him.
Right. Well, if you remember, from the opening of the intensive that you did at HeartLand, the part of the opening presentation I do is always the reason why people carry pain around in their lives is because at a time when they experienced this original trauma, it wasn't safe. And until energetically the space is there, that gateway that's going to yield up that trauma is not going to open. And that's half of the battle, is just being the safe space where it can come up, and all it has to do is come up in the space of active present love, and it's dissolved. There's nothing we need to do with it or figure it out or anything else. And, to me, that's the whole bottom line of forgiveness. I cancel the goal. The perception that's based in hidden pain collapses in on itself. The hidden pain, to the degree that I'm willing to open it, exposes itself. If love is present, what's exposed dissolves. That's all. So just being that space and holding that space and opening every conversation possible.
Boy, I would really
That's
love
where the
to
healing
do that.
happens. Well, you'll really be supported in doing it.
Thanks.
Because we'll be holding the space with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm planning to listen to the shows down there. I mean, my whole life is just because of Zoom, and I'm doing all my teaching down there and the radio show, and my routine will probably be very similar as at home. It's just transplanted for a week. So I should be able to be
Sweet
on,
opportunity.
and I'd even love to. Yeah, I'd love to have him listen to the show too, but that may not happen, So we'll see.
Well, you can always have it on in the background listening, and he does what he does. If he hangs out, he hangs out.
Yeah, that's true. I always listen through my hearing aids, and nobody can hear it, but that's a thought. I wonder if he has a speaker system. Excellent idea, Michael. You thought of it. Thank you. I'll ask him if he has a Bluetooth speaker. Yeah.
And you can just order one for $20 on eBay or what have you, or Amazon, and have one there, so you've got an amplified sound. Just links into your phone.
Nice idea. Okay.
Breathing with you. Breathing that into that space where safety is so pervasive in the field that any core trauma that's ready to come up comes up, and he gets to move through it.
Yeah, if you would hold the space for that, that would be so good.
Absolutely. And you might just be aware that there might be some really bizarre, off-the-wall stuff surface. And to just be in a space of embracing that is, and embracing it, not just in external appearance, but embracing it internally. And some of what he may bring up may be traumas that you haven't dealt with yet in you. And so you're going to be, this is one of the things that I recognize in people who want to teach this work, is you have to process yourself in an instant sometimes, because somebody's going to bring up what you haven't dealt with yet, and you got to process you first.
I had that happen to him, with him years ago when he was little. He would go into these steely-eyed rages that were very quiet. You could just tell that he was off somewhere in some profound judgmental rage, and I would get paralyzed.
Kind of like his great-grandfather?
Yeah, kind of like his great-grandfather. Oh, my God.
Was it great?
Well,
the day you were in the room?
Yeah, my mother's father, yeah. That's true. I never made that connection because the connection with his own raging dad is so right there, obvious.
Yeah.
Because his dad did that all the time. But what Gabor Maté said, too, that's so good, is he said, an addict is an addict as an act of health. It's actually a healthy thing to try
it's an adaptation.
to mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can
Show's
say
cut us
that
off.
to Jake. Jacob, do you realize? Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, no, that's okay. We'll continue till it does cut us off, but I just wanted you to know that it's getting close to that. And yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. It is an adaptation. It's a way to survive something that otherwise seems unsurvivable.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
And
Thanks
the other thought, I don't know if you've got the Avicen back or not, but if you do, I'd suggest you take it down and get his hand in it, because that hostility and fear, that sympathetic dominance, is one of the things that keeps the flow closed that needs to open for that trauma to be processed.
That's a thought.
Because from what you've told me, I guarantee he's in a chronic sympathetic dominant state. And his hand in the Avicen will move him into that parasympathetic mode, open circulation that allows those other organs to start to function.
Wow.
So I'll send you. I actually did a practitioner's presentation for Avicen last month on that. I'll send it to you, and you'll hear what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I think it'll make sense, and
right.
it'd be good if you could take it and get his hand in it. All right, young lady. Well, they've let us go well beyond our time limit, so I'm just going to say thank you for the conversation, and we cherish you, and I'll send you an email in just a few minutes.
Okay, great. Thanks.